So, Tafaz Episode 2 came out, and as I said, I'm doing a weekly review kind of thing of all the episodes. So, let's talk about it. No need for a long intro here. Also, spoilers for Tafaz Episode 2, which yes, I will be calling it that, because I like it. I don't know. So, the main takeaway from this episode for me was that it was a much more Marvel-y episode than the last one. And it was more what I think people were expecting from the show. There's a lot of Mackie Stan banter, there's a bit more action, there are a few more funny moments. Yeah, it's more typical Marvel-y. And on the one hand, I really enjoyed that. I mean, that's what everyone was excited for with the show, is the Mackie Stan fun banter. And they are fun together, as they've proven in the past. They have good chemistry, a fun dynamic. You know, I love me some buddy cop stuff. And generally speaking, yeah, it was very fun to see them interacting like that again. On the other hand, I did find it a little less interesting than the first episode. I guess maybe because I was not expecting the first episode to be as character-driven as it was, so maybe I was expecting more of that, so I found it a little less engaging. It was a bit more, I guess, predictable, like you knew what was going to happen. It was going to be fun banter and action. But also, I don't really have a problem with that. I mean, it's a Marvel show. I do want to see the fun back and forth between these two characters at some point. So yeah, it was a good time. The therapy scene at the end was also very fun. It was very 22 Jump Street-esque, where they have kind of like a couples therapy for these two characters. And, you know, they have kind of an old married couple sort of relationship sometimes. So that was fun. There are like very few moments where it does feel a little bit scripted, or like it's trying to be fun buddy cop stuff. And like they have a bit of improv that doesn't always 100% land. There are occasions where you can see behind their dynamic rather than just enjoying it, you know, on its own. However, I should stress, most of it is very fun and a good time. And both guys get some fun lines in there. So I'm excited to see more of them working together, and not just the fun banter between them, but also just their characters working together, because I found that interesting as well. Yeah, we can talk about that. Bucky's problem with Sam giving up the shield, feeling like it's a betrayal of Steve, and revealing then in the therapy that comes from some thoughts about himself. If Steve was wrong about Sam, then is he wrong about him? Like I said about episode 1, when they set these characters up well, and now seeing them cross over, their storylines and their arcs crossing over is also very interesting. Then the other big thing from this episode is new Captain America, aka Johnny Walker, I believe, or John Walker. I enjoyed that one of the first lines about him in the episode is like, "Oh, they're gonna love you," which is ironic considering the internet just absolutely pulverized this dude. Feel kind of sorry for him, but I hope most people are, you know, if you hate on an actor because you don't like the character they play, you are stupid. I think that's a pretty easy fact. That character had a bit more depth than I was expecting. They actually give him like a sympathetic, or not even sympathetic, just like understandable backstory, and like good backstory, that he has good intentions, that he's a good guy, he's done great things. He's not just some like loser kind of douchebag. Although, you know, there could always be a twist to that. But from the way they've set it up and from the way it's going, I suspect he's going to turn bad. Not like bad in a cartoonish, like maniacal laughing kind of bad, but in that he has these sort of insecurities about he's not good enough to be the new Captain America. People don't respect him as much. And even though he has these good intentions, he's going to eventually let all that pressure build up, let all that kind of insecurity build up, and he's going to become a bad guy in pursuit of trying to prove himself. And he's going to probably be killing people and being more ruthless and brutal, and, you know, probably going to not have a fun time with Sam and Bucky, given that last interaction in the episode. I think the lack of respect he gets is going to be his, like, what's going to push him over the edge. But I think it's, yeah, much more interesting that he's not just some douchebag, but he's actually a good dude who then just, I mean, Sam and Bucky hate, and the audience hates, I guess, for taking on the mantle of Cap. And I think that's going to push him in a bad direction. And I enjoyed the whole dynamic between Sam and Bucky and Cap and his sidekick. I can't remember his name. I like that fun visual gag with the car pulling up and then them just walking past it. That's fun. But yeah, their whole conversation, you can understand where new Cap is coming from, but you can also, especially because they kind of speak for the audience a bit, who are, you know, disgusted to see someone take Steve's shield, you can also understand Bucky and Sam's feelings. Also, I found it fun, the little musical cues throughout the episode, like the opening band number is a rendition of Star Spangled Man from the first Captain America, which also is the title of the episode, and also I think is indicative of where it's going with this character, is that he's more of a PR symbol, although he does do some actual fighting in this, not that he's amazing at it, but yeah, that he's, you know, rolled out to be a new PR thing, and as he says in the episode, he's a government guy who does what the government tells him to, as opposed to Captain America, who, I mean, in one of the films very specifically did not do what the government wanted him to, but also moved more freely and was able to do, you know, hero stuff that he wanted to do, while this one, I think, wants to do hero stuff, but is confined by his government controls, and that might also contribute to him, you know, maybe going a bit bad. He's not getting respect, the government is telling him what to do and trying to make him a PR guy while he wants to be an actual hero. all this stuff. I think it's going to culminate in this guy ending up going a bit bad. Also, I'm sorry if you can hear some, like, drilling and stuff. That's my neighbors. I don't know if they're going to keep doing it. There's also the Captain America music, I think from Civil War, that comes in when new Cap shows up. Which, by the way, that was just a weird, like, I don't know, weird moment where you see the shield, you hear the music. Like, you're so used to that visual and that sound, like, being associated with Steve Rogers. And this new guy comes in, you're like, ah. Like, I think it was a good job of making you, like, bring that hope and, like, excitement that you get, even though you know it's not going to be him, but just, like, automatically you get. And then it being brought down by seeing this dude. I think that's a good way of making us also side with Sam more and being like, oh yeah, this does feel weird and wrong. Also, is that like a reference to Captain America fighting Ultron where he got knocked off into another car and then that happens to this guy? I mean, it's probably just a coincidence, but it's something I noticed, I guess. Also, interesting use for the shield to like save someone falling off a truck. That was new. We haven't seen that before, I don't think. In terms of the action, let's talk about it. It was pretty good. It was a little clunky in my opinion. The way it was edited and choreographed, it was not all of it, but some of it, you could kind of see the choreographing behind it, and it didn't feel as real as, say, a Winter Soldier action scene. But it's also, I mean, we have to remember, even though it has this crazy budget and feels like a movie, on TV, it is still a TV show, so, it's better than a lot of TV action. And it was still, I don't want to say it's bad, it was still good. And I especially enjoyed, just like in the first episode, how Falcon fits into the action. The uses of the wings, how he kind of, when he jumps off a truck, he will whip back because he expands the wings. It adds a very exhilarating feel to the action and gives a sense of the speed of the trucks, and it's just, yeah, it's cool. The Flag Smashers as villains, we learn a bit more about them, get a bit more in-depth on their motivation because there's a program that's helping people displaced by the blip, and they feel like that leaves people who are not, people who were not snapped away, they're being ignored. Again, it's this way of building this universe where it's not just, I don't know, let's say Kingsman, for example. Half the world murdered each other in that first film, or whatever. I mean, a lot of people presumably died. And then the next one, it's like, oh yeah, everything's kind of just normal again. I know that's that's much more crazy stylized universe in the MCU, I guess. Relatively. And it's only 2 films, so it's more forgivable there. It's more kind of funny to think about than actually a problem. But I like that here, where this universe is so expansive and explored in such depth, it would be weird if they were just yeah, that happened and there are not many consequences for it. Everything's just normal. The fact that there are government policies and initiatives to help people who are displaced by it and all this stuff, it might sound like a boring, what the bureaucracy and the paperwork behind all this stuff, but it actually leads to interesting stuff like this, where there's now a terrorist group who wants to bring it back to how it was before this program. And we get a little more character stuff on them, especially the main woman, which was fine. I don't really feel, I mean, obviously they're bad, but in terms of great villains, I don't really feel much so far. I mean, they just seem super soldier kind of terrorist group, but I think they're going to build more on this. The main woman seems to have more character to her. Also, someone's out to get her or something. I guess that's a mystery. People can make great thumbnails of, oh my god, it's Mephisto out to get her, but I don't know who's out to get her. Then the super soldier from the 50s, Isaiah, who apparently is from the comics. I didn't know that, I'm not a huge comic guy. I thought it was very interesting because, I feel like it's been brought up that for the MCU there is, I mean, I would know this better than most, having put together the chronology. There is a bit of a gap in the 50s, from when Steve Rogers goes under to, the 90s, where, there's a lot to fill in. There's stuff that, Howard Stark and Hank Pym and these people would have been doing at that time. And so the fact that there were more super soldiers and they were fighting in the Korean War and had run-ins with the Winter Soldier, very fascinating stuff that I hope maybe we explore a little bit more of. The show also raises some racial commentary, which I found interesting. I should stop saying interesting again. I only used it 3 times in this review, okay, so cut me some slack. Firstly, on him talking to the kid about how a lot of black superheroes have black at the start of their name. That was a funny way to kind of poke at that trope. And also then the irony of the cops showing up thinking that Sam was causing trouble, when actually then it turns out there's a warrant for Bucky's arrest. That kind of stuff. I thought it was well done. And then finally, we have the return of Zemo, who, to be honest, when this show was announced and some of the plot was announced, I thought he was going to be behind the Flag Smashers, or he was going to be organizing it, and maybe he is, but I kind of doubt it. I don't think he's the guy who's texting the main woman of the Flag Smashers. And then I guess he gets out and starts supervillaining and probably joins the Flag Smashers. We still have to find, what's her name? Emily Van Camp. No chemistry with Steve Rogers' relationship. Carter. Something Carter. Haley Carter? Nope. What is her name? Sharon Carter. Yeah, we still have her to get to. And to be honest, the show is only 6 episodes. That's not really me being honest, that's just a fact. But to be honest about that, that's not a lot of time to do more stuff, which I like, because it means it's not drawn out unnecessarily. It's kind of all put together well. But yeah, so I'm curious to see, because I think we'll probably see Sharon by the next one if she's gonna play, a decent part in this, and Zemo, and then yeah, it's gonna wrap up. So it's a fun miniseries. It's not gonna go too long, and yeah, good episode. Probably enjoyed it a little bit less than the first one. I just found it a little less interesting. But it was still very good, and it had the fun Mackie Stan banter, which I do love. That was what I was originally excited for the show for, and yeah, it's good. It's good as you'd expect. So yeah, looking forward to next week's episode. There you have it. So those are my thoughts on the Falcon and the Winter Soldier episode 2. What did you think of it? Let me know all of your thoughts down below in the comments. While you're at it, be sure to like this video, check out my Instagram and Twitter at BHL_Hudson. Check out this podcast that I do with a friend of mine where we talk about movies, TV shows, a bunch of nonsense. It's called The Poorly Planned Podcast. And subscribe for more videos like the one you just watched. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.